Hi, I am the Christian conservative. Sorry, I am the Christian constitutional conservative, and there's an emphasis on Christian and constitutional. And I am here to expose the mainstream media and their attacks against our Constitution and our Christian values. Let's go ahead and get started on exposing the fake news. Now, I will say this. MSNBC, as we all know, is fake. And they like to conjure up stuff, they like to make things up, or they'll show things and try to bring doom and gloom. That's what we as conservatives hear. I have honestly never watched MSNBC before. Maybe I've seen clips on Breitbart or something else, but not really watched full-length segments. So we're going to try to do that. I see here the video is 20 minutes, 42 seconds, so we'll see. Maybe I'll split it up between two. This was done July 10th. It's the last one of Rachel Maddow's that she's done, the latest one on MSNBC. I'm doing her because she has the highest ratings right now on MSNBC. So we'll go ahead and click play and go ahead and watch this.
In terms of our politics here at home, things are getting a little punchy, a little punchier than it ever should be, frankly. And we probably should have known to expect it. This is tape you might remember seeing from just a couple of.
Okay, so she talks about a little punchier. I'm sorry, I saw a few seconds of this clip before just because I thought I was recording and so it was playing and I'm watching it. But punchier than before, I don't know, but well, I'll just say this. It's been punchy before in our politics. If you've read about the Civil War, the years before the Civil War in the 1850s, one Democrat senator assaulted a Republican senator with a cane. And I mean, the guy was in serious critical condition. So our politics has been worse before. I mean, we fought a whole civil war, which was all political. There were representatives from both sides that were in both armies fighting against each other. So, maybe we're getting there, but not yet.
Months ago, this was an incident in Michigan in April at a meeting of the Michigan Republican Party.
Yeah, so right now I heard that the Michigan Republican Party is either they did or they're about to get rid of their leader. It's some lady that's kind of a rhino neocon type person, and basically while she's been in charge, the Michigan Republicans have lost everything. They've lost the state legislature, they lost the Supreme Court, and they've lost, of course, the executive branch, the governor's office. So they've been on a losing streak now for a while.
A couple of county level Republican Party officials in the state getting into kind of a slapping, shoving fight. Again, that was April of this year. Then this weekend, the same Republican Party, the Michigan Republican Party, went back to this same hotel in Clare, Michigan for another statewide Republican Party meeting.
Yeah, so I don't condone this. I mean, they obviously look like they're having issues. Maybe some of it is personal, I'm not sure. But there is right now within the Republican Party a civil war going on between those who are Christian constitutional conservatives like me, and neocons who are more to the left, or even some who claim they're in the middle, but they're a little bit to the left. I mean, basically, there are many Republicans who are Democrats, who are where the Democrats were 10 years ago.
And apparently there was yet another punch-up. Craig Mauger at the Detroit News was first to report on what happened in Michigan this weekend. It's one of those reports that I can't really improve upon, so I'm just going to tell you, give it to you as Mr. Mauger reported it in the Detroit paper. A Republican man from Wayne County, Michigan, quote, acknowledged that he wiggled the knob of one door leading into the meeting room while the meeting was underway. The chairman of the Clare County Republican Party heard the wiggling of the doorknob and walked over to the door, where he says he saw someone through a small window in the door flip him off. Quote, the Clare County Republican Party chairman then opened the door and says, quote, He kicked me in the balls as soon as I opened the door. The scuffle intensified. And long story short, the Clare County Republican Party chairman provided this account to the Detroit News in a phone interview from an emergency room in Clare, Michigan, an emergency room in which he says he was being treated for what was believed to be a broken rib.
Okay, so I might even do Fox News today. I'm thinking about doing MSNBC, CNN for sure, and maybe Fox News. I'll do them as well. Um, but I'm curious what the highest place, the highest rated show in Fox News is going to talk about or start off with. Because right now, as we all know, the economy is crashing. Everything's just bad economically all across the board. The taxes aren't up, but because of inflation, who wants to be paying taxes right now? Gas is up, food is up, everything's up. We know that a few days ago, the Biden administration sent out a tweet or something saying, "Oh, inflation has gone down some percentage points." Who cares? Where it's at right now and where it was before the Democrats took over, before Joe Biden became president, it was a lot better than what it is now. Inflation is still hurting, no matter if it went a few points down.
The man who did the alleged...
All that to say that they're talking about fighting among the GOP. I mean, that's your leadoff news and you're the highest rating. That's all I'm going to say.
Flipping off and then the alleged ball kicking of the other Republican official. He told the Detroit News that he took off his glasses before engaging in these fisticuffs, telling the Detroit News, quote, "When you see me taking my glasses off, I'm ready to rock." Again, statewide Republican Party meeting in Michigan this week.
So she stopped there. What was she waiting for? Applause or I mean, what? I don't get that.
Weekend.
Pause for effect. I mean, come on. It's some people who are mad at each other.
The news outlet Bridge, Michigan has a little bit more.
And to be fair, I mean, if there was stuff like this going on at Democrat gatherings, we'd probably hear about it. But the Democrats right now are just so lockstep and all going in one direction, and Republicans are not like that. So you can say there is a lot of diverse opinion among the Republicans, more so than Democrats.
After the Detroit News was first to report on what happened, Bridge notes that charges are likely going to be pressed in this case. They also note that the man who did the alleged flipping off and the alleged ball kicking also has his own version of the story in which he says that he was not the aggressor. He says the other guy threatened him and that the other guy, quote, came out of the meeting with his dukes up. To say the least, this is not how anything in politics is supposed to go. But this is how it's going.
Again, politics has been worse before than this. Believe us, it's been worse.
In Michigan Republican politics, 2 consecutive statewide Michigan Republican Party meetings, both at the same hotel in Clare, Michigan, both of which resulted in physical fights among Republicans who were there for the meeting. I should note that I was going to say it's understandable. Tensions are high. It's not understandable. No matter how tense.
It is understandable. These people want to win the state back. The Democrats control the state, and that's just how it is. It's intense. It's who's going to go, who's going to be the leader, who's going to be the one that's picked. Whenever there's things, there's power, especially among people who are actually diverse and think differently than other people. Maybe in the Democrat side, there's not that because everybody is just like sheep, all going in one direction. But among Republicans, there's a fight going on.
How high tensions are. You don't need to kick anybody in the whoozy-whatsy.
And again, I would not kick people or anything else. But of course, they were women. And yes, this is going to be a politically incorrect show for all you people who like politically incorrect. So there you go. They were women. So, of course, maybe he did say that there were men too. I think that's what she did say. But anyway, tensions are high.
At a political meeting, for any reason. So there's no excuse for it.
What there is no excuse for is you talk about this over the economy. That's what's no excuse for.
But Michigan Republicans, you should know, are doing poorly right now in lots of different ways. This is one of the state parties that was just convulsed by former Republican President Donald Trump demanding that Michigan Republicans should find a way to overthrow the election results.
And that's not what they're fighting about. Many of them were on board. I mean, they went to court and things like that. They weren't going to overturn it, but many of Trump found sympathy among many of them.
Results in that state and declare him the winner in 2020, even though he lost in Michigan. The implications of that, the repercussions of that have been strange.
And you don't know, some of this might be personal more than anything else.
And are ongoing. The state does now have an election denier as its state chairwoman. Michigan Republican Party chairwoman says that Donald Trump's election claims should have resulted in Michigan throwing out the vote results and instead declaring him the winner. She also refused to acknowledge her own massive double-digit loss in a statewide race when she ran for Secretary of State recently. In addition to her being the state party chair, for the first time in 4 decades, Michigan Republicans hold no statewide offices and neither house of the legislature. They've never been as far out of power as they are now, at least not in the last 40 years.
Yes, and that's why they're having this fight, because right now Republicans are divided in that state between, again, the neocons and more, as I say, Christian constitutional conservatives.
That said, Michigan Republicans are apparently still capable of breaking each other's ribs at meetings. So they've got that. You might have seen over the weekend.
Okay, so that's how you lead. You lead with that story. Economy is crashing, but we're going to talk about a couple instances where some Republicans were a little mad at each other.
And that there was
And this is national news. Like, this is what's being broadcasted in all 50 states. In all 50 states, they're broadcasting this. I'm not defending those people fighting. What I'm saying is MSNBC is really having a nice time right now because their guy's in office and their guy doesn't do anything wrong. So let's look at these small little issues here throughout the country. I mean, come on, that's like Michigan news.
Weekend ruling from a federal appeals court in Tennessee. Tennessee Republicans have been going after trans people every way they can. A federal appeals court this weekend on Saturday, in a divided 2-1 decision, let that state go forward with banning specific kinds of health care for trans people.
I'm going to say this, and I'm politically incorrect. Sorry, but this is not health care. It's not. It's mutilation. Genital mutilation. And we condemn countries in Africa which do it, but yet now our news is promoting it. Come on. It says right there, transgender care for minors. What's with you guys going after minors? What's the desire to do this to minors? What is going on with you people? Notice Tennessee didn't say for people 18 and older. No, this here thing isn't even a Christian constitutional conservative bill. A Christian constitutional conservative bill would have said no. We are banning all transgender care, but no, they're a little bit lenient. They just don't want you to mess around with minors. That's some Joseph Goebbels, not Joseph Goebbels. What was this guy? And Joseph Mengele type stuff. Joseph Mengele was a doctor in Auschwitz, and he would cut up children in all kinds of disgusting way. That's the kind of doctors that we have now, and our MSNBC is defending it.
And this is not some distant threat or something that's kind of locked up in the courts now. Thanks to that appeals court ruling, again, on Saturday this weekend, for people under the age of 18, that ruling this weekend means whatever ongoing health care they have been getting in Tennessee, it is now officially illegal. That ruling went into effect immediately. Any such health care, ongoing health care that you've previously been receiving.
Ongoing health care, you little children. Ongoing health care. We just want to cut you up. Get out of here.
Has to stop immediately.
Yes, it does. No messing with minors. What kind of pedos are you?
But that's also happening in the context of this other thing that Republicans are doing
You guys call Republicans Nazis, yet you have these doctors acting like Joseph Mengele.
in the state of Tennessee that I do think puts them sort of at the front of the line right now. The Republican state attorney general in Tennessee.
This woman is literally defending Nazis. Okay? Any doctor who is performing these surgeries on minors is comparable to a Joseph Mengele. And their parents who are enabling it are worse.
Is using his office to obtain the private medical records, unredacted full medical records, for patients who have had care at a particular clinic in Tennessee at the Vanderbilt University Medical Center. He's using his office as Attorney General to take people's individual, private, unredacted medical records.
Yes, investigate these people who are performing these surgeries on kids. Listen, lady, it doesn't say 18 and up. All right? It's for minors. We're trying to protect minors. What is wrong with you people?
For the purposes of an investigation in his state attorney general's office. Now, Vanderbilt University Medical Center says that they had no choice but to hand over these records after the attorney general demanded them. But they also didn't notify their patients that they had handed over their records until after they had already started handing them in. In other words, Vanderbilt presumably could have told their patients, we've received this demand from the attorney general's office. We don't want to comply, but we think we're going to have to. We want to let you know before we give them your records.
Yes, because we got to make sure that we don't have Joseph Mengeles running around inside of these hospitals. Perverts. People straight from the bottomless pit.
That's not the way it went, apparently. Vanderbilt University Medical Center reportedly started handing over the records in response to the attorney general's demands.
Good. Hand them over.
And just recently let their patients know that those records have been given.
Good.
So, according to reporting in the Tennessean newspaper, the attorney general.
Let's go to the Constitution. Listen, our founding fathers set up a government where they said, in the Declaration of Independence, they were making a statement, and the Declaration of Independence is just as important as the Constitution, because the Constitution derives and puts into place the ideas that come from the Declaration of Independence, and the ideas that are life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, but more importantly, the laws of nature and of nature's God. All right, the laws of nature. God has to deal with this. And the founding fathers would have been protecting kids from perverts and Joseph Mengeles like these people.
Has taken people's medical records. He's also taken information on people who volunteer at this particular clinic. He's also taken information on anyone who has...
My word, I'm going to be happy when this segment's over, because I'm going to stop it right there. But man, oh man. And you have people watching this day in and day out who agree with this demon. What in the world?
Has written in with a question about LGBTQ healthcare using a website that was set up to field queries on that topic.
It's not healthcare. You're chopping up genitals and cutting up arms to form other genitals. That's not healthcare. That's destroying our body. There's nothing care about that. It's not healthy.
He's even taken the names of people who were referred to that clinic at Vanderbilt, even if those people never actually got care there. The Attorney General's office has collected all this information, apparently demanded all these records going back to 2018, and now they've got them.
Yes, good. Make sure we're not chopping up people. Find those Joseph Mengeles out there.
We covered a similar case, at least a case with echoes of this in Kansas. You might remember.
Echoes of this. Echoes of this. Oh, my word. People actually listen to this lady? Oh, my.
For this story, a Republican attorney general there named Phil Klein used the power of his office to get individual medical records of women who had been to an abortion clinic in the state of Kansas. He and his staff took women's medical records, private medical records, unredacted medical records, took them, used the power of their office to get them from the clinic, then copied them, kept them in totally insecure containers and car trunks. And
prove it to me that was insecure. Come on.
People's garages.
Come on, prove it to me.
Trucked them around the state, reportedly left
I'm
some
waiting.
of them at a Kinko's
I'm
coffee shop
waiting.
at one point. These are personal, individual, private medical records dealing with the most sensitive possible medical information.
Probably because they've heard that these women had abortions, and so those are the ones that they're collecting. Now, I'll say this. When it comes to abortion, abortion is a murder. I'm a Christian constitutional conservative, so it's abortion, no matter what. But here's my thing. Doctors, I believe, should be punished. I don't believe in punishing the women. Here's why. Women are weak. Women can be emotionally drained because of these things. After an abortion, most women are devastated by it. Unless you're like really demonic in your thinking, most women are devastated from it. And I think the consequence of an abortion is going to live with them for the rest of their life. But yeah, if your state has banned abortions at a certain period and you believe these women are still doing it, yeah. And I'd mainly get it to know if who the doctor is, because the doctor should be in present. No more, we shouldn't have Joseph Mengele anymore.
The attorney general who did that in Kansas was an anti-abortion activist who Republicans elected to be their state attorney.
She says, well, yeah, Republicans. But most of the people in that state are Republicans. This is why states' rights is so important. All right. And I'm not even a Confederate. I don't advocate for the Confederacy. But I'll tell you this, even Lincoln understood states' rights. All right. And it's the right of the people to set up the morals in their state. So they're going to elect people who are in accord with their morals. And for a party that calls themselves Democratic, right now she's showing the hypocrisy of herself being called a Democrat. Because it's the people of those states, the majority, that's a democracy, who are voting for this attorney general. All right? So you guys get your political name together. All right? Find out what you are. Okay? Because right now you're dissing on people who voted for these people in a democracy, which you say you're a Democrat.
Attorney General, his name was Phil Klein. He ended up having his law license permanently suspended for doing that about 10 years ago. But now here's the Tennessee Republican Attorney General using a page out of the same playbook now.
Yes, because we're tired of Joseph Mengele and dressed up as doctors.
Demanding and getting unredacted, complete, private medical records for trans people in Tennessee.
Yes,
as Republicans use every tool they've got to try to make life miserable for trans people. And
no, it's going after the doctors and maybe even the parents who are chopping up their kids. That's what it's about. You bunch of Joseph Mengele defenders.
Their families in that state. Attorney Chase Strangio is the Deputy Director for Transgender Justice at the ACLU.
What? Who are they hiring at these places? Dude looks like he belongs in Hollywood, not as a deputy director of anything.
Nationwide. The ACLU is suing the state of Tennessee over the ban on care for trans youth in that state. Trans
youth. See, the AP article said minors, and now she's trying to go youth because youth sounds more like, you know, sometimes you'll call an 18, 19, 20-year-old a youth, right? No, they're minors. Minors under 18. Stop being a Joseph Mengele defender.
Strangio tells us tonight, quote, when you have this type of aggressive investigation from an attorney general combined with legislation, not only does it limit the care that's available, it also chills the provision of care more generally.
This isn't care, demon.
Generally, doctors are less inclined to provide it. Hospitals are less inclined to teach it. Families, if there's a threat of violence or my kids' records could be exposed, I'm out of there.
Yes, leave. Leave the state. Leave. Joseph Mengele. These aren't doctors. These are Joseph Mengele who like chopping up little kids. That's what they are. They're demons, Nazis.
You have this dynamic in which care is not only being banned, it's also being chilled prospectively. And that will have an effect for generations.
Care. Give me a break.
Margaret Renkel is a journalist who lives in Nashville. She wrote this about this situation in Tennessee for the New York Times.
Yes, get those Joseph Mengeles. Get them all. Get them all. Every single one that likes chopping up little children, put them in jail. Get everyone.
It says, quote, "Tell me this isn't a witch hunt. Tell me this isn't an open campaign of terror
Get that Joseph Mengele.
against already vulnerable citizens who had every reason to believe that their medical records were confidential, and every reason to believe that the medical clinic of a major university hospital was a safe space."
All I gotta say is get those Joseph Mengeles that don't belong in society.
Joining us now is Allie Chapman. She leads a local chapter of the Tennessee Equality Project. She's got a master's degree in science and another in public health. She's
Demon number 2.
also the mom of a transgender son.
I tell you what, liberal white women are the destruction of our society. I'll say that, period.
Who received care at Vanderbilt, which is the medical center that's just been forced to hand over patient medical records.
Get out of here. She's a
to
Joseph
the state's
Mengele.
Republican Attorney General. Ms. Chapman, I really want to thank you for joining us tonight. It should not take bravery to speak out publicly on an issue like this, but I know, particularly in your state right now, it does. And so I'm really grateful that you're here. Thanks.
She's a Joseph Mengele.
Thank you.
First, let me just ask you if I got any of that wrong, or if there's anything important that I'm missing about what's going on with this sort of twin nightmare in Tennessee right now with the legislation that's affecting
the Mengeles, they're not allowed to do that to little kids. Oh my! Put them in jail.
It's really complicated and just infuriating because it doesn't need to be this complicated. It doesn't need to be invasive.
Our news sources, our news people are demons.
These
are nasty people.
Not only violated the trust of patients and doctors as an institution, but Vanderbilt has demonstrated their willingness to share records when they've been compelled by the state for what I would say would be any reason. So I think this is telling.
No, it's not any reason. It's transgendering minors. All right? Chopping them up.
People who would also be concerned about reproductive rights, just healthcare in general.
No. These people, they change the language. No, abortion and changing people's gender is not healthcare. It's evil.
And while we're waiting and hoping on the courts to be reasonable and make common sense rules.
I hope this goes all the way up to the Supreme Court and they say states' rights again.
Rulings.
And that way all the Joseph Mengeles can go make California Nazi.
Common sense is only
Nazi
common
paradise,
for those who experience the same things. And the reality is most of the people in the state of Tennessee have not interacted with or know trans kids or their families.
Who cares? The trans community is less than 1% in our country. All right? And I bet you it's less than 0.5% in your state. They don't get to dictate in a democracy, which I'm sure you're a Democrat. They don't get to dictate to the whole state. Get out of here. Stop calling yourselves Democrats and just call yourselves Nazis.
So there's a lot of misinformation that's shows up in the...
No, because the next election, these people are going to vote for the same legislature, and they're going to vote for the same governor, and they're going to vote for the same judges. Get out of here.
The way that they're being written by the judges, it shows up in the debates, it shows up in the arguments and the conversations, and the hate speech that's happening through bad actors like Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, she'll call them, and what I'm saying, hate speech. It's not. You guys are Joseph Mengeles, and that's all that there is to it.
On that point about...
Joseph Mengele Demon 1, Joseph Mengele Demon 2.
Common understanding and common sense, and I would add maybe common decency.
Come on. This is not common sense. The United States condemns other countries that mutilate kids. And now you guys want to bring it and make it popular here. What in the world?
I feel like...
Disgusting women.
As trans people and their families have been attacked and have been demonized, and as people is like...
Yes, we'll demonize you because this is some Joseph Mengele type stuff. What in the world is wrong with you people?
As you mentioned, people in conservative media, conservative social media have really decided that this is a meal ticket for them to attack this particular population.
Yes, because nobody likes Joseph Mengele. All right? Read up on your history, Nazis.
In increasingly intense ways. I feel like there's a lot of differences of opinions. There's a lot of heat on this issue. But one thing I feel like where people don't have to imagine a different kind of life. They don't need to put themselves in somebody else's shoes. They can just think about this through their own experience, is private medical records being taken by law enforcement.
Yes, find those Joseph Mengeles. That's what I say.
And in particular, in this case, with the medical center saying it was compelled, it had no choice but to hand them over, but not letting patients know until after they had already handed them over. I have to imagine, at least I have to hope, that there's some empathetic reaction among other Tennesseans that private medical records should at least stay private, that part of this has to feel over the line.
Not if there's suspicion that they're chopping up little kids. Okay?
People who maybe otherwise don't see themselves as allies on this issue.
Even
among, these people?
Even among our allies,
cow.
there's still a lot of confusion and misunderstanding, and you nailed it. We really need to be talking about.
Oh, no wonder. Mother of transgender son. Yeah, she was okay with Joseph Mengele chopping up her son.
And decency, kindness, and empathy. And
I really want to know if her son is really transgender. Like, has had that removed. I really want to know. Was she okay? And how old is her son? Did her son do it after he was 18? Or was she there saying, oh yeah, chop him up? He's only 13, but yeah, go ahead and do it. I want to know. Bunch of
that's not what we're seeing. And so we're fighting both. We're fighting an argument when it comes to science and
look at this privileged lady. You can just tell by her home she's privileged. That's the problem with liberal white women.
Biology, which most people don't understand from a third grade level, or are we talking about collectively the personhood of someone? And that's what I really like to focus on when I'm talking about children specifically is these are human beings with lives.
Yeah, human beings' lives. And we want to chop them up. We want to get our Joseph Mengele stuff going.
That's who I'm focused on. And
you should be focused on looking at jail time. That's what you should be focused on.
I try to engage in conversations with people who still at this point don't understand. I think, that's really challenging because...
Yes, you have a big uphill battle because most parents aren't in favor of doing that to kids. That's abuse.
It takes up a lot of energy and time and distracts people from what we're trying to do, which is to protect trans kids.
We want to protect trans kids. Get out of here. Get out of here. That's not protecting nobody. That's a Joseph Mengele getting what he wants and being like, yeah, I want to do this because I'm this vile person.
We do not want the state, and we do not want the Attorney General Scrimetti, and we don't want the governor in their positions of power to abuse it in a way that threatens these kids, because that's the reality.
You're the threat to kids. You, lady. You privileged white liberal woman / demon. You're a threat to kids. You are disgusting. A disgusting threat to kids. You're not protecting a single kid. You're putting them in the hands of some Joseph Mengeles.
Of it, and something I try to explain to people, in my case and knowing other supportive parents, you're faced with a choice.
Hey parents, why are you guys so bad and so evil at not letting Joseph Mengele chop them up? What's wrong with you parents?
You support your child. You're looking at hopefully a brighter future for them and discovering what that means along the way.
Your bright future of getting to 25 and committing suicide. We all know that suicidal rates among transgenders is skyrocketing.
If you choose not to accept them, if you choose...
And we don't even have a good sample size yet because you guys are experimenting on kids. Transgenderism isn't even that big of a thing. But transgender adults are highly susceptible of it. And they've already gone through it and they did the decision as adults. Now you're wanting to do it to kids?
To push them to the margins and allow people to push them to the margins and you give in, you're faced with two results. One is you never see your children again. The second is they die. And people like to say that this is a hyperbolic statement. It is not. I know children who have died of suicide in the last few years.
That's because they need a loving father and mother who takes them out of the public school away from those perverted teachers and tells them, no, you're a boy. You're a girl. And there's all these good qualities of being those things.
And the political rhetoric and just, the conversation.
And Nazis like you.
Is so harmful. It is so very, very.
No, the harm started in the Nazi public school where you guys are indoctrinating kids. Like if you guys are indoctrinating them into the Hitler Youth. Come on, get out of here.
And we need the backing of our leaders and people in positions of power, and we just do not have that.
You guys are nasty, nasty,
you need the
evil
backing of leadership.
women.
You also need
Both
allies,
of you.
Among other people in your state, whether or not they see themselves as
those people aren't going to be allies. Nobody's for that.
As directly affected.
All right, we're going to stop right there for this video. Oh my goodness, my blood is boiling. These people are Joseph Mengele. Joseph enabling Joseph Mengele. That lady isn't a mother. She's a Nazi. She hates her kid. All because of her little ideology. She has her little ideology. And you know what? I'm going to continue this video just because there's only 15 more minutes. But you know what? This thing reminded me. A lot of atheists will say, well, what about all those children that got killed from the flood? Listen, the way you guys are trying to kill kids right now and push them towards suicide and making decisions where in just a few years when they change their mind, when they become a little smarter, because they're going to be smarter than their stupid mother here. And when they're going to get that, it's going to ruin their lives. And they're very likely to commit suicide. And if in the days of Noah they were doing that, just imagine all those kids committing suicide, all those abortions. Really, the question is, how many kids were really alive then if we are living in days like when Noah was? Anyway, that was my Christian thing coming out from the Christian Constitutional Conservative. Let's get done with this crazy baddie lady. We only have 4 more minutes left.
Now,
hopefully I don't commit suicide
why
here.
Vladimir Putin really decided to invade Ukraine?
I'll tell you why. Because NATO.
Who knows
anyway,
what lurks in his
let's go ahead and with this
heart.
Stupid lady.
But we do know that lots of people who are sympathetic to Putin or who are at least inclined to apologize for or explain.
Name them. Name them. Listen, lady, I'm not a Putin fan. But guess what? I'm not a Zelensky fan either. I'm not either of them. All right? The only thing I don't like is my money going over there. That's what I don't like.
In a way, the worst of what Putin does. A lot of those people had a favorite supposed explanation.
Listen. I'm a Christian constitutional conservative. All right? Putin doesn't stand for my constitution. He may be conservative. I doubt he's really a Christian. So we have nothing in common except for maybe the conservative in some areas. But he goes against, he jails people from the press. All right? And there's a lot of things. He is a totalitarian leader. I'm not. I'm a constitutionalist. A Christian constitutional conservative.
For why Putin felt the need to start that war. A lot of Putin apologists and Putin sympathizers said that Putin felt like he had to invade Ukraine because he felt very shy about NATO.
No, it's not that he feels shy. What kind of words? Do you have a dictionary? Shy is not the word you're looking for. It's a threat. He is worried that Ukraine is going to join NATO. All right? Oh my.
The NATO alliance just had too many countries in it, too many countries that were...
Yes, I remember when Obama, when he was debating Mitt Romney back in 2012, was it? And he laughed off Romney because he said, oh, Russia isn't a threat. Come on. You guys know Russia isn't a threat. You know it. So if Russia isn't really a threat, then obviously he's going to be more inclined to say that NATO is a threat. And honestly, we should get out of NATO. NATO, there is, as Obama said, there is no USSR anymore. We're not in a Cold War. And Putin was president then.
We're too close to Russia, and that all just gave Putin this terrible cooties feeling about NATO being too close, and so therefore he had to invade Ukraine. Again, I don't actually think that's it.
Of course you don't.
We know all the reasons why he does what he does.
Of course you don't, because you don't study history. You don't study period. All right? You probably got to school via affirmative action for women. All right? Because you are one of the dumbest women ever.
Knows what's going on in his little short dictator heart.
And I'm just saying it out of the three clips I've seen here. Goodness.
But if in fact the apologists are at least partially correct, if in fact Putin was hoping that one of the effects of him invading Ukraine would be a brush back to NATO, that he would be able to worry less about NATO and somehow starting this war would make that happen, sorry. When Putin invaded Ukraine, there were 30 countries in NATO. Now there are about to be 32. Finland was the 31st country to join in April. That gave Russia 800 more miles of border directly with a NATO country. And now, as of tonight, we know that Sweden is going to join NATO as well.
So then that means that the U.S. doesn't have to support NATO, right? Right? Can we stop supporting them? Can we stop sending them money? All right, can we keep our money now that you have 32? I think, if you go to 31, it won't be that big of a deal. I think, All right, let's get done with this,
Sweden said months ago that they wanted to join, but this is something that really until today, it looked like it couldn't happen. And that's because for a new country to join NATO, it has to be a unanimous decision. All the other countries in the NATO alliance have to agree with the decision. If one country says no to it, it doesn't happen. And in the case of Sweden, it was an original NATO, it was a NATO member, a single NATO country, Turkey, that said no. They said Finland was okay with them, but they were not okay with Sweden joining. As recently as this weekend, Turkey's president was still saying, no, Turkey would not assent to this. Turkey would not allow Sweden to join. But the Biden administration, President Biden himself, kept expressing confidence that Turkey was going to change its mind on this.
He didn't keep saying anything. He doesn't say anything. He falls downstairs. He says unintelligible things. He's not there. We all know it. He didn't say anything. All right? Maybe Ron Klain did, but Biden didn't. Maybe Jill did. All right? Jill probably running the country. It does look like a woman's touch, if you ask me.
That they would allow Sweden to join. And nobody quite knew why President Biden seemed so confident that it would happen. He just kept saying it would be fine, that he was sure it would get done, that he and his team were working on it.
I'm literally losing brain cells.
Well, now apparently, as of tonight, they got it done.
Lady.
President Biden had one-on-one discussions with Turkey's president yesterday. President Biden's national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, was apparently working with both Turkey and Sweden all day yesterday and today. Secretary of State Tony Blinken reportedly met with the Turkish foreign minister, so his Turkish counterpart, 3 times over the last 5 days, including today. So it apparently took a real full court press at the very top levels of the Biden administration. But as of tonight, they got it done. Turkey has relented. Turkey now agrees. The president has said Sweden joining NATO is fine with him. The Turkish parliament does still have to sign off, but they will. And then Sweden will become NATO country number 32.
So what pay for play did they convince Turkey to do that? Huh? That's what I want to know. Okay? Remember the whole Trump thing and Ukraine and all that? I want to know if that happened here. Huh? Did he say, hey, listen, that money we send, if you don't join, we'll get you kicked out. Oh, come on. Get out of here.
Which is a huge win for President Biden and the Biden administration.
No, okay. It's a win. It's a win if we get the United States out. Then it's a win. All right? With 32 countries, they should be able to take on Russia all by themselves. They don't need our money anymore. They don't need us to subsidize all of Europe. Get out of here.
This is definitely one of those,
Here's the constitutional. Okay,
they said
I'm
it
gonna let
couldn't be
this.
done. Situations, it has been done. It's going to happen. That is a huge win for Biden. It also has to be said, it is a humiliating kick in the tiny little dictatorial pants of Russian President Vladimir Putin. I mean, if you started this war in Ukraine because you were so upset at the size of NATO, well, how's that big strategic thinking working out for you now?
China, this is who we are, a bunch of Nazis, Joseph Mengele supporting money spending people. And we're not even Democrats because we don't support democracy when it counts. All right, or when the other side is exercising democracy, then we don't believe in it. That's who you are. Okay, listen. As a Christian constitutional conservative, I also have Constitution in there. Okay, and if we want to talk about Constitution, George Washington, one of the people at the Constitutional Convention, said we shouldn't entangle ourselves with the problems in Europe. All right? And I know we had an exception in World War One, an exception in World War Two. Even though I would have said we should have left World War One alone, and they'd probably still be in trenches facing each other today. All right? But as a Christian constitutional conservative, get us out of NATO. No more entangling alliances with all those people. They got their little 32 countries. One less isn't going to make any difference. All right? Get us out of there. Save money. Save money from the war machine. All right? Get these war machine lobbyists out of here. Let them go. The whole military industrial complex. Get them out of our country. Let them go to Europe and have them spend all that money. All right? And then if Russia ends up taking half of Europe again, or the whole European continent, then we'll come and save Great Britain out of it. Okay? But until then, let's chill, let's relax, get us out of NATO now, ASAP. This is your Christian constitutional conservative. We'll see you in the next video. Joseph Mengele, people, tell you what.